Let's go! It's gonna be a football game tonight now, no doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
9. Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, and it's still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
Alabama back on top of the college football world.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to football.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hello and welcome to another Football to Football. And today we continue our look at the off-season analysis that we're doing on each of the 32 NFL teams. If you missed it on Tuesday morning, we did the Denver Broncos and the Oakland Raiders, and today we're finishing up that AFC West with the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Diego Chargers, and we'll have our friends discuss their teams in just a little bit. But you guys, I mean, it's been a couple days. How things been going?
Been going good.
Yeah, just sitting back and trying to figure out what's next on the docket. And, of course, we have some good things going on here today. But, personally, in my personal life, just, reminiscing on Deadpool and hoping to go see it again soon.
It's always good to reminisce on a really good movie, I had to go have $1,300 worth of stuff done to my car. And spent all day at the car dealership. Basically just got home to do the stuff for this show and the other show we do after this. So I realized after I got done with it, I was like, oh, I probably need to change that intro that I told everybody I was going to change from last week. So if you probably noticed, it's now up to date with Von Miller getting some cachet and the Crimson Tide getting their spot on there for winning the national title. So I mean, there isn't a ton of news outside of stuff that involves players getting cut and some, Jarrett Allen retiring, who, I don't know if we want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but he's obviously a really good, serviceable player for the Bears, the Vikings, the Panthers that fell short of winning the Super Bowl. I mean, anything that comes to mind when you think of Jarrett Allen there?
A really great player. Was very passionate about everything that he did, and you got to like the guy. Even though personally, me and him don't agree on a few things, I think the guy is an excellent player, and possibly a Hall of Fame guy that be way on down the line.
Yes. Wow. I think I just messed up I just messed up the title. I realized that a second ago. Randy, anything you want to say there?
No, same with Gary. I mean, very good career, possible Hall of Famer. I mean, gotta love that he served his country and all that as well. So,
going from Jarrett Allen to another guy that's been. It's not a definitive thing. We thought it was sort of definitive when we talked about it at first, but apparently Calvin Johnson still hasn't decided whether he's completely retiring or not. He's still kind of giving the Lions the sort of, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to retire either, but I don't know if I want to come back. And they're kind of just letting him do it on his own and make that decision. I mean, do you think the longer it goes, you think he'll come back the longer it goes, or you think he'll just wind up saying, okay, I'm done?
For me personally, I lean on the side of I really feel like he's done. I just think that, once you kind of get your mind set to do something, and especially the way he kind of came about it at the end of the year, I really feel like he's kind of talked himself into it. And maybe there's people on the outside, maybe there's a little self-doubt. We talked about that as well when we got into this a few weeks ago, where, as football season gets a little closer, he's going to have that itch. He's going to want to get back on the field. I think that the feelings he's had, though, to retire a little stronger than possibly coming back.
What do you think, Randy?
I don't know. It's just a big decision especially with the talent that Calvin Johnson has to. Retirement's going to be a big decision, and it's not going to be made easily. So, of course, he's going to have second thoughts, and he's like, do I have a few years left? Am I going to miss it? I think it's mostly he just doesn't want to regret the decision in the end.
Yeah, that's a big regret, because then also if you come back and let's say you have a way better year than you had last year, do you start going, well, maybe I can play, like you said, a couple more seasons instead of just one? Because obviously the Lions are not going to want to go through this every year. Let's say he has a great season and, well, then he goes, oh, well, maybe I should retire off of this great season, or maybe I should just, well, I sucked again. Maybe I just that just shows I need to hang it up. It's such a weird thing. Some players don't care how they retire. They just feel like, okay, I've done my part and whatever, or they want to make sure that they retire. It seems like that's the way kind of Steve Smith is looking at it. Like, oh, man, I got hurt, but dang, I was having such a good year. Let me see if I can have a great year the whole way through or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be like Steve Smith. And on the other hand, it could be like Reggie Wayne. Calvin Johnson kind of sees what happened to Reggie Wayne, thought he wanted to come back, realized, I really don't. And, I don't think Calvin Johnson really wants to go through any training camp or put himself in a situation where he comes back and says, man, I wish I just would have stayed away.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, the big thing that happened, as we were saying, last week, right when we had done the podcast, the big thing that happened was it was the first day of franchise tagging. That, we did it early in the morning, so obviously nobody was going to get tagged that day. But I don't think we've heard of anybody getting tagged yet, but there is a thought out there of people that we kind of know are going to get tagged, especially based off of contract talks kind of already being killed for now. One of those big ones is Kirk Cousins. Obviously, he could get $19.6 million off the franchise tag, but he wants a long-term contract, and they've kind of tabled those talks because they couldn't come to an agreement. What do you think this winds up in a off-season long thing, or you think they come to an agreement? Because Kirk Cousins kind of has some leeway here of being able to ask for some money.
Well, of course, he's going to ask for money, but Washington's in a situation where they don't have any other major free agents, so they can go ahead and just use the franchise tag on him and take their time with it. So, yes, Kirk Cousins does have leeway, and he plays really well, and they're going to get rid of RG3, and he's going to be the quarterback going forward. But Washington's not going to go, all right, go here, Kirk, have $100 million. They're going to take their time and find a contract that works for both parties.
It's the only way you can go about it. These decisions are not simple. Not only that, you want to be fair to both sides. Both sides wants to get theirs. Washington wants to save money. Kirk Cousins wants to get all the money. So it's going to have to come down to a process, and it's going to take a while, and people are going to get frustrated. But it's going to work out in the end.
And another guy, obviously, we kind of already talked about Von Miller last week. I don't think we need to rehash that again. That's an obvious one that people are saying, but I've talked to our Chiefs guy. He's saying that they're working out a contract with Eric Berry. You have guys, for the Chiefs, I think it's a Sean Smith or Derek Johnson. your next guy on the list is Derek Johnson, right? If you're looking for a franchise guy, you're tagging it on him because they really can't afford to lose him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. He's an excellent player. You can't just throw away guys like that if you can help it. So those are always the big names that they're pretty close to duh.
For the Bears, I think it's kind of obvious as well. Alshon Jeffrey. I don't think you can really I don't know of anybody else that's there for free agency that you're. I mean, they already let Matt Forte go, so obviously they decided who they're keeping, and Alshon Jeffrey there. For the Panthers, I think who I'm gonna guess Josh Norman.
I think that's the best guess for me. I mean, the guy had a great year last year, and you definitely don't want that guy considering other options for sure.
I mean, everybody else I think is pretty obvious as far as the Seahawks have come out and said that they're not even going to try to ask Marshawn Lynch back because they don't want to have to deal with his $5 million roster bonus that he's going to go up against them. I mean, he is one of those guys that you know what he's done for you, but you kind of also saw what he did for you this season. Should the Seahawks? Is this the right move for them? Like, just don't even bother?
Yeah, absolutely don't even bother. Even if he wasn't going to retire, I would not have been surprised if they just let him go because they have Thomas Rawls now. Thomas Rawls is the future and now the present right there. I don't think they're losing any sleep when Marshawn Lynch semi-announced his retirement over Twitter. I'm sure they all smiled and went, cool, no, we don't have to pay that.
Yeah.
I wonder do you think Marshawn might have done that for, I don't know who we're talking about here, we're talking about Marshawn, but you think he might have done that seriously to see if maybe they would ask for him back?
I don't know if that's the case. I think it was more for attention. But I mean, it could be in that thought process. It could be something to that effect.
I mean, but isn't that kind of attention grabbing too? You're like, hey, like you're like that girl that's like, hold on, I thought like you loved me or something. What happened? Like you just left me in the dust now? Like you don't care?
Yeah, but I mean, if that girl is just kind of like, thank God, maybe I can go finally.
I mean, he is high maintenance, so.
Yeah, it's a weird situation between him and the Seahawks. I mean, they've enjoyed his services, but I think this is a guy that's maybe not worth the trouble. I mean, I don't know. Randy has to deal with the fans all the time. Randy has to deal with listening to Seahawks news on a regular basis. I mean, is that the case? Is this guy just really someone to just let's get him out of town as quick as possible?
No, the Seahawks fans around here absolutely love the dude. I mean, my Facebook completely got swarmed right after the Super Bowl with, look how great Marshawn Lynch's career was. First ballot Hall of Famer, and just ridiculousness.
Is he? Is he a first
He's
ballot?
not.
Well, no way.
Okay.
He's a good running back that has 3 great runs.
3 great runs.
Hey, the whole beast mode thing, because of one run, it turned him into a legend in Seattle when, in the long run, he was a very, very good running back. I mean, that's as far as I can go. I can't even go to great.
Wow. There you heard it. Any Seahawks fans,
bring it.
Send your hate to Randy.
Yeah, I'm not a big Marshawn Lynch guy as much as I was at the beginning of his career. It definitely was. I loved he had a better attitude than he has now. He was a hard worker. I often said that he was close to Emmitt Smith. I used to watch him, and just I loved the way he ran the ball. But later on, he's kind of getting to that age of I'm done, or at least everybody else is done with him. But hey, his shoes are beautiful. I love the Skittles shoes. That's one thing I like about him.
And the guy only had 6,000 yard rushing years in his career. I mean, come on.
That's true. So if you're, I mean, we've seen Mario Williams, we've seen Randy Starks got released by the Browns. Some other thoughts here are: you think the Texans would really release Arian Foster?
Why wouldn't they? I mean, he's a great running back. Don't get me wrong, and I think that he's someone that if he was able to stay on the field, hey, would definitely help that whole entire roster. But I don't think that they really believe in him anymore. I don't know if any team really will believe in him. I think if you see him come back and go to a team, saying that they do cut him, I don't think any team's going to sign him and say this is our guy because all the injuries he's had, his history's not good. It's almost a guy you love to have, but you can't trust.
Randy, do you think the Broncos would really think about releasing Peyton Manning if he decides to come back?
We kind of talked about it on Monday. They almost would have to. The amount of money that he's getting that they could get off the books and use elsewhere is so huge. I mean, at some point, yes, they're going to most likely franchise tag Von Miller and put a Band-Aid over that salary cap wound, but you have other guys you need to sign, and if Peyton Manning sticks around, you're not going to be able to keep even half of them. So I think at that point, you have to do what's best for your team, and what's best for your team is to let Peyton Manning go.
What do you think, Gary?
Randy's basically everything Randy said is true. Whatever's best for business, and what's best for business for the Broncos is to not really have Peyton Manning a part of that team anymore. It's time to move on. The Broncos won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. Good job. Congratulations. Party's over. Let's move on to the future. And hopefully you'll have Brock Osweiler as your guy that's going to lead you to championships. So, it's nice. It's nostalgic to have your guy, the guy that won a ring with you, but when he's kind of past his prime, you could definitely see it even in the Super Bowl. It's time to go.
We know Manziel's getting released. We don't have to talk about that. You've already mentioned that you really think Antonio Cromartie's getting cut. And another name being bounced around here is Breno Giacomini. Think that's happening too, Randy?
Yeah, Giacomini, I'm still interested to see where they go there, but I honestly think Cromartie will be one of the first cuts. Way too much money on the books there for he's a very good talent. He's a decent number 2, but with them getting Skrine, I can't remember how to pronounce that guy's name.
Skrine, yeah.
Skrine, in the offseason last year, I think they could do without him, and they have some glaring holes elsewhere, both on the defense and needing to repair things on the offensive line. So he's definitely one of the cut casualties, I think.
A couple of other guys that announced their retirement. Gerard Mayo announced he is retiring from the Patriots. He has had some injury. He's had some injury issues. Been to the Pro Bowl twice for the Patriots. We know he's important when he plays, but kind of like, I was told about Malcolm Floyd apparently retired. I can't remember his first name right now, but Abdullah, the safety for the Chiefs, retired too. Lots of concussion or injury-related early retirements. Seems to be that trend that happened last season continues here for this the NFL.
Listen, I think the trend's going to continue as the salaries go up. Players make more money, and the concussion awareness becomes greater. People are going to retire faster. They're going to go in, get their one big contract, save up their money, and get out. It's one of those, I can set up my life for me and my family for a few generations by putting my body through 5 or 6 years of torture and then get out and still live a healthy life. Sign me up. The years of being in the NFL for 16 to 18 years is going to be down to the few people that absolutely love football more than life itself.
Yeah, you're right. The Charles Woodsons of the world, it's going to be very rare in this future.
Miami, Cameron Wake? Could they really cut him? I mean, you can tell. I mean, he's 34. We know he tore his Achilles tendon, but we also know the way that defense looked without him last year when he went down.
It wouldn't be something that, me personally, if I was in the front office of Miami, that I would be excited about doing. But if you're weighing your options here, and which Cameron Wake is a big help to your defense, if you're going to suffer on offense or you're going to have a severe problem in other areas and you just can't help it, cut him. I get it, but otherwise, the guys on my roster, I've got to get him on there. And with the injuries and all those things, you could hope that your contract negotiations will go a little bit better, knowing that this guy has missed a lot of time. And I don't know. I just feel like he's an important guy.
Well, the Cameron Wake situation is very interesting, just for the fact that you look at the numbers. They have just under $9 million in their cap space, and you cut Cameron Wake, you're saving over $8 million, which basically doubles your cap room. So you're looking at it going, are we going to be contenders next year? If the answer is yes, you keep Cameron Wake because he's going to help you next year. If it's no, we are still rebuilding. Of course, yes, you get rid of Cameron Wake. You open up some salary space for people that you can get down the line, and you move on. I don't see Miami contending next year, so I think cutting Cameron Wake would be good long term.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And, hey, if I could trade Ryan Tannehill for, Matt Ryan, then I definitely keep Wake, because I know I have a chance. As long as Tannehill's on my roster, I'm going to trade everybody, cut anybody I can to get free space on my roster to add more young talent.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, Gary, you bring up trades and stuff. Like, if this is baseball or the NBA, the first thing I'm saying is you're trading Cameron Wake for draft picks or younger talent, because that's what the infrastructure is for basketball and baseball. In football, trading becomes this special thing. We don't see nearly as many trades in the NFL as we do in the other sports. So it's almost like probably the way we would look at it was, all right, trade him, try to get draft picks out of him. But just teams don't do that. They value draft picks so much that they would go, you're probably going to cut him anyway, so we'll just wait for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of takes away from that fun part of watching the trades go through. That's why you got to love basketball, baseball, these, other sports that, it's willy-nilly that you see all these great trades go through. And NFL, it's just kind of, if you see one, it's okay, but nothing super spectacular.
Yeah, the trades, I mean, you sit there and if they really happen, you're talking about them for days just out of the shock of the fact that it's happening, right? It's
yeah, and trades are so one-sided in the NFL. As a Jets fan, what was it that the Jets gave up for Brandon Marshall? It was like a 6th-round pick?
Yeah, something like that, I believe so.
So what are you getting for Wake? A 3rd or 4th-round pick? Miami's not going to worry about that, so...
Yeah, I'd agree on that. They'll probably just release him and not worry about it as far as that goes. But I think we kind of went through and talked enough about this. I mean, this will be ongoing. I think they got another, at least until the next time we do a podcast, if not till next week to do the franchise cutting thing, or the franchise tag and cutting people. So that'll be interesting as it keeps going along. I'm sure there'll be some heated talks and people not wanting to accept that, and we'll get to discuss it here. But let's go on to our first team that we're going to talk about today, and this is the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they wound up being second in their division, going to the playoffs, losing to the New England Patriots. And I mean, I haven't seen. I don't think he's been with Last Word on Sports too long, but you can listen to him talk about his Kansas City Chiefs. Jarrett Middleton, right here, right now. This one's about. There was a little bit of a problem where I lost the call really early, so there's like a couple of, I think about like 30 seconds where I'm asking a question and then I realize he's not there. But it's like a 17-minute thing, and then we'll be on talking about the team after that. So here we go. Hello, and this is the first part of our two-team look at the rest of the AFC West on tonight's podcast. With me here is Last Word on Sports writer Jarrett Middleton. He is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And what do you do at do you write anything specific at Last Word?
I mostly write different articles I find interesting. I've recently wrote one on Joe Delaney, the Chiefs running back who died in trying to save 3 children from drowning. But right now I'm also working on a kind of AFC West overall, the 3 top needs for each team in the off season.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So you're kind of primed and ready for kind of what we're going through here. So looking, the Chiefs kind of did a lot with what they had in last season. I mean, they got all the way to the divisional round playoffs, losing to the Patriots. I definitely say that that's certainly a win for you guys. I mean, that's a good season. I mean, what do you think, reflecting back on it? Do you think it was a good season, or do you think they should have done more? Should they gone farther? Hello? Oh, wow. Looks like I lost the call. That's great. Oh, okay. All right, so apparently we lost the call. That's always great when doing a recording here. So, again, I guess I lost you in the middle of my question. Kansas City loses to the Patriots in the divisional round of the playoffs. I would think that's a good season, but I'm just an overall outsider looking in, looking at the league from a broad perspective. You as a Chiefs fan, how do you feel? Do you think they should have done more?
I mean, it was the first playoff win when they beat the Texans, it was the first playoff win since 1994. So my liver thinks that situation. This playoffs, it could have gone better, I think, especially after beating Denver Broncos in the regular season at home. But overall, they did make it. They did get a playoff win, and it's kind of like that monkey is now off their back. So hopefully, a good 2016 season is coming up.
So looking at a lot of people say things about, but I mean, how do you, for getting into, so what do you think are, obviously your defense was awesome last year.
Right.
What do you think are some of the standout things about that season, that give you a lot of excitement for next season going in?
I mean, it looks like they're working on a long-term deal for Eric Berry. I mean, he's coming back from cancer. And having the season that he did was pretty awesome to watch. We got the defensive rookie of the year in Marcus Peters, who was playing awesome. I mean, he did give up some touchdowns, but I feel like he's a game, he can make or break a game sometimes. There's plenty of times where the game is close and they throw the ball and he get an interception or a pick six and the game be over. So as long as they can keep him around, which, he's just a rookie, so they're going to keep him at least a couple more years, and Eric Berry work out a long-term deal with him, it looks pretty promising.
All right, so, a lot of people say things about Alex Smith, he just doesn't make mistakes, but I think this year he proved that you can certainly count him as a quarterback. He runs a lot, especially not being the traditional guy that you think as a running quarterback. He runs to get out of situations. He can throw the ball. He's trying to make those short passes or whatever. How do you feel about Alex Smith being able to take you guys farther than you did last year?
I think it's pretty promising the way he plays. He doesn't make mistakes, so like you said, that actually seems to help more than anything with a good, solid defense like the Chiefs have. Alex Smith is kind of the quarterback that we need. So the defense doesn't get tired of being on the field constantly because he's turning the ball over, but he's also he knows his limits. He doesn't push his limits too hard, but he will throw the deep ball because he showed it on occasion this season with Jeremy Maclin, too, who can also get open deep. Now, I mean, when he was with the Niners, he did take him to the NFC Championship game on a good, solid defense as well. So it shows promise to me that he could do that and hopefully make it even past that to not only to the AFC Championship game, but to the Super Bowl as well.
I mean, especially now that division seems like it's going to be more on the rise with what Oakland's doing, and the Broncos. They're going to have. They obviously you got to figure out who they're going to bring back and whatever, and what they're going to do at quarterback. But that division is going to be difficult still. But you would think that maybe the Chiefs have the upper hand. When you're looking at, I think the bigger question even than Alex Smith though is Jamal Charles, who's had his injuries, quite many of them, and he had another one that kind of put him out in the season last year. But the other guys stepped up, Spencer Ware, Kendrick West. Do you think you're okay, say, if, let's say, Jamal Charles has to go down again, or do you think what do you think the team is thinking there with him?
Well, I mean, when I saw Charles go down, especially it being, I believe, the Chiefs were 1-3 at that time, about the fourth loss in a row. It was like that. There goes the season. And then Kendrick West and Spencer Ware stepped up, and I believe proved that they could. I mean, they went on a 10-game winning streak with those guys, or 11-game winning streak technically with the playoff game with those guys as a running back. So if he does end up going down again, which I think if that was the case, it'd probably be his last season with KC. He's got such a huge contract too right now. But if that was be the case, then I think at least Spencer Ware can take it over. He's more of a physical pounding back with Kendrick West mixing it up as the Jamal Charles-like back that can catch the ball in the backfield and return and take it pretty far while also run up the gut.
So when you're looking at your team needs for going into this offseason now, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft, what do you think are some of your biggest needs?
One of the biggest ones, I believe, is offensive line. The Chiefs don't have a great offensive line, and I mean they drafted Eric Fisher first overall. He's getting better, but he's not ever going to be worthy of a first overall pick. And then their line is Mitch Morris as center, who played as a pretty well rookie, but I mean they need more solid linemen, especially the focus to give Alex Smith more time because you don't want Alex Smith sitting back in the back, not feeling comfortable in the pocket. When he's not comfortable in the pocket, the whole offense just collapses. And that's for the offensive side. The defensive side, if they let Sean Smith go, which is more than likely since he might be too far out of their price range right now, as a corner, they're going to need another corner to step up. Whether that be the rookies that they have signed or that they picked up in the draft, or if they try and go free agency, which is very difficult to go with a corner to get anyone really that's very good to play corner without paying a whole lot of money. And there's also the case of the linebacker situation right now. Derek Johnson, who leads the Chiefs in tackles, actually comes back next season with, instead of being too expensive, because he's also a free agent.
Or you don't think they'll franchise him?
It's debatable. I mean, right now, I know he wants to be a Chief badly. He wants to stay in KC. And if it was between Hawley and Johnson, I'd rather see Johnson. He has less injuries. He's a Chiefs leading tackler. I feel like he's the force behind their defense. He kind of leads the defense while they have D Ford that I wouldn't say easily replace Hawley, but he does a pretty good job filling in for Hawley. So they're going to have to do something with the linebackers just in case they're not able to get Derek Johnson.
So I mean, they have $32 million in change in the cap, so they have
Right.
some room to wiggle there with Derek Johnson, whether they franchise him or not. I mean, you got Sean Smith, who you also got to think about whether you want to bring him back, and probably a few other guys. I mean, there's some that are, I mean, like a Charkandrick West you don't have to worry about because he's an exclusive rights guy, so he has to either sign with them or just not play. Is Derek Johnson your main concern, and then everybody else? I mean, you said you need offensive line help. Is if Jeff Allen's a guy that's unrestricted, Donald Stevenson are those guys you'd like to bring back, or is it a big deal if they don't come back at all?
I'd like to see Allen come back. I mean, some fans are sold on Stevenson. I wasn't a huge fan of him playing. I know the Giants recently cut Schwartz, who played for the Chiefs in 2013. I believe he was rated the best lineman on their offensive line at that point in time. So if they are, linemen I feel like are easier, not necessarily easier, but they are, you can find more of them in the off season. They're not always the best.
Right.
But, the Chiefs don't really have that great of a line, but I've heard talks about moving Fulton to center and letting Morris play guard because he's more comfortable at the guard position. That's what he played in college. So if that were to happen, I wouldn't be too upset about that. Kind of trying out new things. And Andy Reid is usually a pretty knowledgeable guy when it comes to line.
Yeah, he has had very good linemen in the past, so he's certainly a guy that you look at when he knows what he's doing. I mean, and usually linemen are pretty good. It's good at finding them in the draft. So
right.
That's another place you can go. I see that apparently you guys have a bunch of, aside from Sean Smith, you have Hussein Abdullah, who's also unrestricted. I mean, so you got Fleming.
And Abdullah just recently retired too. I know he's not the biggest news,
right.
But
okay.
That happened. Yeah, there's other news going around. So Abdullah retiring is not going to be noticed.
Right.
Exactly. I know they're working on a long-term deal with Eric Berry, who's also a free agent, and that's who you got to sign Eric Berry.
Yeah.
I feel like he is one of the most important pieces to that defense. And then DJ would be the next person. Derek Johnson would be the next person I would like to bring in back. Jay Howard.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was like, Jay Howard does pretty good on the defensive line. This draft is pretty full of defensive linemen that maybe they could look there for one. If you sign him to a long-term contract, you still have Dontarie Poe coming up next year for a contract. So between Howard and Poe, I'd rather have Poe.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he does so much for you guys, and he showed it in the playoffs too. How big he is.
Right.
Have you looked at I know these mock drafts are so flimsy at this point, but have you looked at anything draft wise that you think the Chiefs should take, or?
I've seen some drafts. Every mock draft I see, it has the Chiefs picking someone different, it seems.
Right.
From a corner to a linebacker from Notre Dame to the lineman, the DN from Oklahoma State. Ogba, I think is his name. But right now, it's just so hard to tell who the Chiefs will possibly go for. I've been kind of keeping an eye on their free agents, and especially now with the tag coming up, or the free agency tag period being, or franchise tag period being starting right now. Kind of seeing who they lock up and before I looked at the draft to see who they'll probably single out.
Is there anybody I don't know how much you watch of the college game or whatever. If there was anybody that stood out to you, you're like, oh man, we're picking that low. It's not a guarantee he could fall there, but I'd kind of like to have him for this position.
I'm a huge Mizzou fan, so Kinser Brothers. out of Mizzou as an inside linebacker. I think he'd be pretty good. I mean, I think he's more of a second, third round pick. They led the SEC in tackles, if I'm not wrong on that. I mean, Mizzou defense was about the only bright spot of that team, but I'd love to see him come. I mean, the linebacker from Notre Dame, I can't think of his name right now.
Jalen Smith?
I believe that sounds right, yeah. I'd like to see him. I mean, I've heard from what I've seen him play, which isn't a whole lot, I don't watch a lot of Notre Dame football, but he's been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he would be a guy that if, do you keep Derek Johnson, he can come in the middle of the season because he's apparently got an injury that's bad enough to where he wouldn't play to start. That, he could come in and he could just learn from Johnson for the rest of the year, and then the next year he could be a really good guy for you guys.
Right, and that wouldn't be a bad situation either. Learning from a guy like Derek Johnson, who, like I said, leads the Chiefs in tackles, the whole franchise in tackles, which is pretty impressive in his 10 years of play.
Yeah, so I think you've kind of covered everything that we kind of wanted to hit on here. I want to thank you for helping us out. And
yeah, no problem.
I'm sure we'll do one of these again, just going over all the teams after the draft. So, we'll keep in touch and have you on again pretty soon.
All right. Yeah, just let me know.
All right. Well, thank you again, sir.
All right, no problem. Bye.
Oh, sorry. I want to apologize because I thought I had the thing on mute here, and apparently I didn't for the first part of that deal. So if you heard other noises and stuff, I'll make sure I correct that for the second one here. But I mean, that was Jarrett Middleton from Last Word on Sports talking about the Chiefs. I mean, I think we kind of already talked about if he's saying that Eric Berry is going to get a long-term contract. I think the next guy that you obviously have to franchise is definitely Derek Johnson at this point. But as far as their needs, you kind of agree with him on that, or are you looking at other people?
I'm right there with him with Eric Berry getting a long-term contract. I mean, obviously with some of his...
Why are you sounding like repeated or something? I don't think that's you. I think it's like the studio for some reason decided to slow down. Okay, talk again.
Are we good now?
Nope, I don't know what's going on. Gary?
Are we having issues on, do we both have audio issues here?
Yes. Both of you guys sound like robots and have bad audio.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Huh. I'll check the broadcast.
Hold on, I don't know where that's coming from because this is bad. We are live and I'm sitting here dealing with this. I mean, I don't know why you guys would be having issues all of a sudden. Hold on, let me cut the call and try to call them again. I might have to just go straight to doing the Chargers here and see if we can figure this out by the time they come back on. Hold on, I've got I don't know. I really don't know how to do that while we're doing this right now. This is kind of crazy. Let me see if maybe it was just the internet freaked out on me or something. I'm gonna hope that's what it was. Let me get them back on really quick and see if that fixes it. Hold on here. But either way, uh-oh. Well, while Gary comes on here. Are you there? Gary. Gary.
I am here. I apologize. I wanted to make sure I cut the audio I was playing before I got on.
No, still haven't given me a problem here. I don't know what that is, but
Okay. Well, maybe you should finish off the second interview and maybe conclude the show.
yeah. Okay, well, I'm sorry that I can't really, I mean, I guess I could do this going through here. I mean, this sucks. I don't know what happened that caused this to all of a sudden freak out as soon as these guys came back on here. We were fine in the first 20-something minutes. That might have also been what you guys were hearing earlier. And I might be doing it too. Who knows? I have no idea. I can't really tell at this point. Okay, that sounds fine. So, yeah, I don't... that's got to be a Skype thing. Because it's not coming through on... Oh, well, Randy said you sounded fine when I called you back. I don't... Okay. Now try. Yeah, I don't know. It's sounding bad on my end. I don't know if that's just... Maybe it's something with me. I don't know. I don't know what that is. But I'm going to go ahead and just play the... Oh my god, this is terrible. I'm going to go ahead and play the Chargers because she is a season ticket holder since 1978. Her name is Rachelle Carpenter, and she knows a ton about her team. Very passionate about her Chargers. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. And if we can't fix this issue, we might have to just end the show with that. So here we go, guys. All right, so we are here with our second part of the final AFC West team that we're talking about today. And with me is a season ticket holder of the San Diego Chargers, Rachelle Carpenter. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing all right. I was trying to get through this thing. I got to work in the morning, so, just...
There's always time to talk football.
Exactly. So, a lot of talk, during the season, last season, about the whole Chargers moving and all that kind of stuff. And then they decide to stick around for one more season. They supposedly made, trademarks with LA Chargers, all that kind of stuff. As a season ticket holder, how do you feel about this whole thing?
First of all, you said LA Chargers. If I could slap you, I would.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. How do I feel? It may surprise you. Spanos has tried forever to get a stadium done here. And the babies who are now in their 20s and 30s are just mad at him. And he has tried repeatedly. We had a city council that just threw him to the wayside. So I can see, as an owner, hearing it for money, that he needed to go elsewhere. However, I believe 100% we're going to get it done here. What I'm worried about is that the people won't let it go. He is now doing interviews here himself instead of Fabiana. He's out in the public here. He's out on every single news affiliate here. He's out in the public talking, articles daily. I believe he'll get it done here.
Well, I mean, that's good. I always believe in keeping your franchises where they should be. I mean, I was kind of upset because I know plenty of St. Louis Rams people that were really upset about them moving, so.
Well, Sean, I've got a different take on that. My whole upbringing in the 80s, they were the Los Angeles Rams. We played them with Air Coryell. They were the Rams first. Kroenke, I can see 20 years going to a city, coming back, but they're coming back home. We never really left. Baron Hilton wanted his own franchise, and so he came down here. The first year the Chargers were in L.A., he started looking, and then he put the money up for Balboa Stadium because it wasn't ready, and that's why year 2 we were here and we never left. He wanted his own city because L.A. was already taken. So people argue that the Chargers were, the LA Chargers. He always intended it for it to be down here.
Well, that's good. I mean, that way it had the ground base down there. And so, is that perception real, that the fans don't care and that people are, you seem to hear more visiting fans than you heard the home fans and all that?
Oh, this is hard. This is such a hot button with me. We're a military town. Let's throw it to like Jacksonville. They're a military town. It's really tough. We have been less people in the stands probably from 2009 on, when we used to just rock it, and only Denver could squeeze in, and of course the Raiders go everywhere because it's California and we're really close. I don't believe that. It's hard because, like the Steelers game, around us, the people behind me were from Sacramento. They're not a Steelers fan. They're just a fan, and then they come. You know what I mean? It's almost like a bandwagon. I don't get that everyone is so angry that we don't fill a stadium. Every single game was 68,200, 66,810. It's not all them. It may sound like it or look like it, but I have a hard time with that because I know I'm there. I know, 1978 season ticket holder,
Wow.
My dad paid for them in the beginning at 18, and then I had to take over in 91. I went to our Super Bowl. And I have a hard time with it being a town. For years before the blackout was lifted, Spanos would have to buy the tickets, and he would give them to the military, because to lift the blackout so people could see it. We just have such a huge and they bring with them here their team, not the Chargers, because they're not from here. It's just a hot button when you are such a huge presence with the military.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I think that's pretty amazing. My dad has had Dallas Cowboys season tickets since like 1994, and he got them for the new stadium too. And it's just like, to me, I can't. My brother and I, even though obviously my dad hopefully at 58 still has plenty of years left. We talk all the time about like, oh my God, how are we going to continue the tradition for our kids and all that. I have a 5-year-old daughter already, so I'm just like, oh, I want to keep doing that, but it's also expensive, So.
Well, I'm right there because I'm 56, so I'm right there with your dad. So I know your heart and your soul. My daughter is 20 years old today. She owns her own season tickets, pays for her own. We travel to 3 away games every year as a family. That's our vacation. That's our love, our passion. And I worry for her too, because right now where we sit in the end zone in Loge, it's $1,000 a year, Mm-hmm. And then when I travel, it's hard. I worry about that for her too. But I think she'll make it happen, as you will, unless you're going to go on to have 4 more children. That'll be a little hard for the family. I get that.
I mean, not planning on that right now, but you never know what happens. But moving away from the stadium aspect, obviously, you didn't have the season you wanted to have. Lots of injuries, all that kind of stuff. What do you, when you look back at the season, what are like some of the thoughts that come up to you? Is it about the injuries, or is it about the defense, or what do you think about it?
Everybody had injuries. This is another hot button, Oh, look at Brady. He had injuries too, and he made it to the playoffs. I think it was daunting for us. Daunting. I mean, literally, Sean, the cart comes out, and they're being carted off. And we are just in the stadium going, are you kidding me? It's been really rough. I worry about keeping Philip upright. If he's injured, it's gone. There's no hopes for us going forward in the next 4 years, going to the show at all. So, everybody has injuries. I don't know what to tell you. Everybody's been fired except McCoy. Don't get me started. I don't know really how to answer that. Everybody has injuries, and, we're going to come back bigger. I worry about the draft more than about the injuries because they have time to get healed and get it together.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how Phillip Rivers didn't, being a Cowboys fan, having to watch Romo and how the team was so inept without him.
Yes.
You know, you guys got lucky with all the offensive line movement, and you never had the same line out there every game. And
lucky. Now let me tell you about luck. We have the only NFL quarterback who does not scramble and is not mobile. So I don't really think that's luck. I think that's a weapon. He's extremely smart. He's the most excitable quarterback in the NFL. Number 2 would be Cam Newton as far as personality and fun to watch, in my personal opinion. I don't know that it's luck, but he's so smart. And if, you know, I think back to Eric Coryell. You know, your dad and I are the same age. Oh, my God, if we would have had Phillip, oh, my goodness, you know. But we've got to keep him upright, which I know one of your questions is going to be, do you need to stack the D? Do you need to stack the O? First, most important, we need to keep him upright because he is all we had this last year. And the biggest joke was, you know, the team photo was just him. That was the biggest joke going. I know, and it was. And I posted it, got, you know, 1,600 hits in, you know, 7 hours.
I mean, that's it's not far from the truth at all. That's
there you go.
It's what it felt like. I mean, and then you also didn't have much help because of the offensive line. You didn't have much help with the running game, you know. So
nope, game. You know the stats. We had no running game. We're 32 at that. Yeah.
I mean, the little help that you got from Danny Woodhead from here and there, you know, it went away when he was hurt too. So.
And, you know, he would have got comeback player of the year, I believe, wholeheartedly if Barry hadn't had cancer. And Barry deserved it. Because if you look at Danny's year when he went out with a broken ankle and come back, you know, we have Gates with Rivers, and they're called the dynamic duo. Well, the second dynamic duo, the other dynamic duo, is Rivers and Woody. And what's so funny about Woody, he's a running back, but apparently a really good receiver, too.
Yeah, he catches just as much out of the backfield or out there as a pass that he does running. And speaking of that, speaking of guys that are big-time part of your team, or they have been, I'm looking at you got a pretty long free agent list here. and not only is Antonio Gates on it, Ladarius Green is on it, and Eric Weddle seems to be a big hot-button topic as well with his whole, he thinks it's time to go. How do you feel about that?
Okay, here we go. He doesn't think it's time to go. TT, Tom Telesco, thinks it's time to go. Our GM, for those of you who don't know that, because I know people listening don't know everybody's GM. Eric's building a home here. Eric loves it here. Eric and Rivers are best buddies, golf together. They are best buddies. He had a bad start with his agent, I blame. This is my personal opinion, who went out there and started wanting to guarantee before the season started because obviously his contract's up. Well, we had other pressing issues, and I'm not real thrilled with his agent. And then we had this little debacle. I don't know what you know, but Eric went out on the field in our very last home game with Miami, our win number 4, woohoo! And his daughter is a junior Charger cheerleader, and he went out at halftime. Now, this is a captain and of a team, and he didn't ask anybody. Mike Cypress asked for permission. His daughter was on the field also. He was fined $10,000. The city was divided. Oh, don't fine him. Oh, he knows better. Don't fine him. He knows better. He does know better. He paid it. There was money raised for Eric. That's how much he's loved here. He turned around and gave it to a charity publicly, to pay his fine. He doesn't need it. These men can pay their fines. I want him back. They consider you old at 30. His body's taken a lot of it. He did have a groin issue this last year. However, I would argue with you around the other 31 other teams who's done that much better. I think he's got gas in him. I feel the same way. Back off of Spanos, forgive and forget. Let's move forward. I know for a fact he would stay here for a fact. Let me just throw this out there. His uncle is my neighbor, and how I originally met Eric was at the training camp. I wanted his attention, and I was yelling at him. I live in Ramona, California, 32 miles from our stadium, and he was coming over on season ticket holder day. training camp, and I said, "Hey, Eric, I'm sleeping with your uncle and Ramona." My daughter fell to her knees, died in our own separate houses, and that's how I first met him. And now I've tailgated with his parents, lovely family. He wants to be here. I think agents are a big part of everybody's problem. I don't think he has a chip on his shoulder. I know he's upset. He's angry. I think a lot of people, Vincent Jackson held out. I don't think we have an attitude with Eric like when we had Vincent Jackson and then AJ got rid of him and goodbye because he wanted more money. Eric wasn't asking for more money. He was asking to get his contract extended. Then you have the fans who said, "Oh, he played like crap." Well, who plays like crap if they want to go somewhere? These are all such really infantile things that are being said about him. He got hurt. Wasn't his best year. First time it wasn't his best year. I guess that's all I got to say is that I would love to have him. I want him tagged. You know, it's very rare that a franchise will tag somebody. You've got one of three choices on a tag. Pick one. Tag him so we have a little control over it because there will be people that will come after him, I believe.
Oh, yeah, there will be people. I mean, and if anything, you know, Charles Woodson showed everybody at that same position that you can be 39 and still play. It all depends on your body.
There you go. There you go. I 100% agree. And then you have everybody who's in a fan base, you know, too old, move on, get new blood. Not too old. You know, we have a 34-year-old quarterback, and I if we can keep him injury-free, he's going to go like Peyton did because of the love of the game and because it's who he is and because he can. If we don't, you know, injuries, God forbid.
Yeah, and, you know, I think Eric Weddle definitely, even when the thing is with Weddle, even if he's maybe lost a bit or whatever, he's so smart. He's been playing so long. He knows where to be without even having to think about it. You know, so there's something to be said for having that kind of player. That's almost invaluable.
Teo. Yeah, he's grooming Teo, and Teo is what a great kid. I have to say kid because you know I'm your father's age, and that I've got a step-kid older than him. He's a good kid, and Teo's smart too. And I'm just waiting for him to beef up like Junior beefed up when Teo was a little beefier than Teo, but Teo's a tall kid, and you don't see that when you watch him on TV. You look at him being a little bit more slender, but he's learning so much from Eric, and he publicly says it all the time. This is my mentor. Just like Ladarius says it of Gates, this is my mentor.
So looking at this, you're saying for them to franchise Weddle. So if you franchise, and you guys you have about, I think, around 33 million, somewhere around there in the cap. So you have some cap space. It's not like it's the end of the world, but I mean, you definitely have an Antonio Gates who's been a huge part of your team. He's got one of the higher salaries there. You got a Malcolm Floyd who was big when why can't I think of his name right now? The other receiver that got hurt with the lacerated kidney.
Oh, Keenan Allen, K.A.
Yes. So when Keenan Allen got hurt, he was big. You've got some. When you're looking at your needs? Who do you think are the ones that you have to sign back?
First of all, Philip's brother from another mother, without question, would be Antonio. Let's just be real. Everybody out there knows he needs to beat Tony and Gonzalez's record, and he's going to do it with one team. Tony did it with two. He's going to come back another year. I don't think he's going to be a big salary risk. I believe after this next year he'll retire. He'll retire a Charger, just like Philip said. No trade in my clause, and I'm retiring as a Charger. Got to have the dynamic duo, which is Antonio and Philip. There's just something between them. But Darius, I love Pee-wee, nickname. I love him. Tall presence, good kid, lots of concussions. That's a hard one. Keenan Allen will be back. He should have gotten Rookie of the Year. He got Pepsi's Rookie of the Year. I was really surprised he didn't get Rookie of the Year. He's just a machine, and he's fun to watch too. He loves the game. Let me see. Throw out another one because I'm.
So you've got Malcolm Floyd.
Well, Malcolm Floyd's retired.
Oh, he's retired.
No chance. And actually, it was so sad on January 3rd in Denver. so sad because that was his last game, and he went out with a concussion. And NFL rules, you can't even interview anybody with a concussion, so we didn't even get any love from him. Our fan page sent him the most beautiful well wishes and happy retirement. Just thousands of people posting pictures and writing on a wall for him. Yeah, he's gone. Love him to death. Done. His wife is over it. Concussion prone. He's ready to do charity work here in San Diego and back in his hometown in Sacramento. So he's gone. He's off the books.
So you've also got a Patrick Robinson, a Joseph Barksdale, your right tackle.
Okay, Barksdale won, for his position with the team, offensive player, offensive tackle. Yeah, I would keep. I think on your list when we get down to it, I would keep 3. And one of those 3 is I'm tagging Weddle, and more than likely he's going to be gone. It breaks my heart. Breaks a lot of people's heart. I would keep Barksdale and obviously Antonio. The third one would be a linebacker, maybe Cavill.
So Joe Mays or that's the only one I'm looking at here. That's a linebacker. But.
No, Mays. What's Cavill's his first name? What's his last name? Oh, yeah. Get rid of Williams. Not Tyrell Turek.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys.
It's okay.
No, I wouldn't keep Mays. We need a nose tackle. Does anybody get nose tackles anymore? I mean,
some of them got taken in the draft. I mean, it's just those are the ones you find draft wise. So I mean, you can go find somebody in free agency. So it's not the end of the world on that one. But have you looked at the draft at all? Have you looked at anything for the team, like a player that you'd want to grab at the position that they're at, or?
Bosa's a big one that everyone are looking at. And Tunnel is a big one that everyone's looking at for our team. Don't know that. I think Bosa might be an option, but we just don't know what they're going to do in front of us. The 2 in front of us, and we don't know if Telesco's going to trade again to get a different trade away to get a better spot for 1 pick. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, you have to have that offensive line help because you had so much movement around with that you need solid guys to help protect Phillip Rivers. You
think like I do. We come from a football family loving of people who have an arm. Their weapon is their arm. Air Coryell Rivers, that's his weapon, is his arm. So I'm an offensive person. You've got other San Diego Chargers here in San Diego who want build that defense. Look at Belichick. Defense wins Super Bowls. So many people are like-minded like that. I'm opposite. Build that offense. Keep that boy upright. And I'm just so opposite of that.
No, but there's something to be said for the defense there because they did have issues last year, letting too many yards. People were scoring on them, and I mean it helps when if everybody's keeping it up the pace with Rivers and they're not committing the turnovers and everything to help him out. I mean it makes it difficult on that end. So
you watched our games last year.
Yeah, I watched probably a lot of the games last year. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you know why the team photo had Phillip Rivers on it.
Yeah, exactly. And he did a lot by himself, So you got to give him props for that. There was a lot of games they could have won. They were really close.
We lived it. Yeah.
But thank you.
Let's just put it out there, Green Bay. Why didn't he just take the 8 steps and go in the end zone? He's not a scrambling quarterback. That's not his mindset. Yes, we wish we could change him. His father did this to him. When you are a coach's son, that's just his mindset. That was a killer. And that we never should have lost that game. And he's the first one to tell you. Out of all of them, we never should have lost that one.
I bet. I mean, that's the one you made it all the way back, and then you get so close, and it's just like, oh, if I made the right decision, it would have been a win,
Did anybody ever see Aaron Rodgers' face, though, in like, oh, what is happening? I've never seen him worry in my life until that game.
It was so crazy to see him just kind of like that sigh of relief that he had after they won.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because they would have gone on some ridiculous slide. I think that would have been like the 4th or 5th game in a row they would have lost. So it was.
Exactly.
Well, Rachelle, I want to thank you for all of your insight here. I mean, you were tremendous. I think you're definitely the best one out of the other 3 that we've done so far. Thank you so much.
What a kind thing to say.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Lovely. I said, what a kind thing to say. They're just so passionate about football. And now, look at your dad. We haven't stopped. We still feel like we're in our 20s loving our team. You know what I mean? And in our early 30s when I went to our Super Bowl, loving our team. It's gotten more of a passion for me as we go on. And yes, I'm a 4-12 team, but I got a quarterback who can kill it. And I'm just hoping our management can do the same this draft.
Well, let's hope so on your end as well. But again, I want to thank you. We'll be doing another one of these probably when the draft is over, so everybody can kind of talk about what they thought about the draft and just their team in general, their makeup going into next year before they start training camp. But I want to thank you again, and we'll be keeping in touch hopefully.
And I appreciate it, Sean. And please send the link to your podcast. Knew nothing about you. We have the fan page with over 24,000 members, and Jose Torres is running that, and I'm so proud to be a part of that fan page and proud to be a part of this.
Well, thank you, and for sure, I'll send it over to Jose, and we'll get that so everybody can listen to it.
All right, thanks so much, Sean.
All right, thank you again. Have a good night.
You do the same. Bye-bye. Go Chargers!
Yeah, that's I mean, everybody else that comes on after her, you have a lot to aspire to right there. Talk about some passion and really caring about her team. I mean, not that we don't. I mean, we definitely talk about ours enough at length here. But Gary, I mean, what'd you think about this whole deal here? Oh boy. Hopefully Gary is there at some point. Well, I guess we're just going to be having sound issues the whole rest of the show. Gary is just now calling me apparently. I forgot that I knocked Skype off and didn't call them back. That's my bad. So Gary, I think you're on mute, maybe?
Yeah, on mute, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to turn the audio off because, I had to listen back as well. So, but I think that was, man, what a great interview. I really enjoyed that, and I am just, happy that we had a chance to, get someone on who's really passionate about their team, because definitely was, But, they still had a lot of great things to say here, and these Chargers, being 4-12, it's a tough deal for those guys over there. But I'll say this: they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of people they could bring back. I loved her analysis on Antonio Gates. From the outside looking in, you're thinking, man, go with the future. I know he's, someone who's done a lot for the Chargers, but wow, she kind of made me motivated to want Gates to come back. So. A lot of interesting things here, lots of great information.
So apparently you guys are not hearing this echo that I'm hearing, so that's good.
That's all in your head, Sean.
It's terrible. So anyway, I guess we should go back and do the Chiefs some justice here, since we did not cover them thinking that we were having some issues. I think we all agree on the Derek Johnson thing. They have a lot of cap space. I mean, what they have, I think the 4th or 5th. I mean, they're not too far behind on behind the Raiders as far as what they have as cap space, and as far as you're looking at the rest of the league. He brought up, the Marcus Peters factor of that kind of was his calling card last year. Of the whole, either he's going to give a big play or he's not, but he's signed through next year. That's not an issue. Sean Smith is an interesting guy. He's due to make, where he was making about $5 million or so, more than that. You'd expect that he would ask for a little bit more. You sign him maybe Hussein Abdullah is retired. It looks like they need some, obviously, secondary help here. Either one of you guys here.
Yeah, we're on mute. Well, before I hit that, I just want to say, especially after we listen to Rachelle talk about her Chargers, Jarrett, listen, you needed more passion when Sean asked you how you felt about your season. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm mad. They should have been in the Super Bowl, and they didn't get it done. So when you say, was it good enough to be out in the first round, man, go for it. Yell at Sean and say how it was completely wrong. Anyways, but no, absolutely, Kansas City definitely needs some safety help, especially with Abdullah gone, Barry aging. Hopefully they re-sign him. Hopefully they get Branch back. But they have a ton of cap space, and they're not losing that many people. So if you're Kansas City, you're looking for that one or two pieces that are going to put you over the top. The AFC West is opening up with possibly Denver losing some pieces. Oakland is growing, so you have a very small window before the future of Oakland and San Diego rise and Denver's falling. So you go out and use this money to shore up your future, and you go out and get like 2 or 3 major pieces, and you make a run at it next year.
They're not far, and you're right, Randy. 2 or 3 pieces that could definitely shore up that defense, where they're going to, maybe have some issues in the secondary. Do anything they can do to bolster that defense even stronger. Hey, look at the offense. The offense could even use a couple pieces to really make them elite. And I think it's interesting. I think this is a team that really, has the best potential really going into the season, especially if they shore up some of those needs. You mentioned Oakland. We talked about Oakland last week. Actually this last podcast we did on Tuesday, and we really kind of gave those guys a lot of credit for just the potential they have. But right now, the Chiefs are ahead. The Chiefs have the talent right now, and they have those opportunities. So I'm excited to see what they do here. But if they don't, watch their cues and just be really careful what they do here, and they could be, snuck up on by those Raiders.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's one of the things that Phillip Rivers was talking about. He said he was very happy about his nucleus that he has, that offensive nucleus he has with Keenan Allen and some of his younger guys there. Now, Stevie Johnson's not that young, but he's not that old. You've got Malcolm Floyd gone, as Rachelle noted. I asked her that question, and she kind of thought about going offensive line help. Obviously, that was an issue last year, no doubt. But do you look at the defense and go, they're the ones that need help over there?
In my opinion, they do. That's the biggest issue for me when it comes to the San Diego Chargers. Yes, they do need offensive line help. Outside of that, I think the talent surrounding Phillip Rivers is just fine. I think that they can do a lot of damage. It's just that defense does not do them any credit. They don't allow them to, stay ahead in games. They don't allow them to, maybe do some of these things we saw Carolina do last year, and that's take the ball away from other teams, score occasionally, and help your offense. They don't do that. That's caused the offense to put it all on their backs, and that's why we've got the issues in San Diego.
I actually kind of agree with her that it should be offensive line. Like, I get it, and I liked how she put it, where she's opposite of the norm and she thinks she wants to go the offensive side. But the defense isn't that great, and it definitely needs addressed. But you definitely need to go offensive line first. Like she said, it was Phillip Rivers and nothing else. Mainly because every wide receiver that put on a Chargers uniform last season broke something. It was a complete epidemic over there. But the fact is, you got to get the offensive line built to give Phillip Rivers time to allow your running backs to do anything. Melvin Gordon ended up being a joke. Hopefully an offensive line can help that. Woodhead was great, but only when coming out of the backfield as a receiver or on dump plays. He didn't have many great plays like up the middle. So you shear up that offensive line. You give Rivers more time to find Allen, to find Stevie Johnson, to find his tight ends. And that's where I think you're going to win at San Diego. Sure up the defense, absolutely, but I don't think you're going to be able to fix that defense enough to where all of a sudden you're talking a Seattle or Denver level defense. So sure up where you're good, make it great, and then work on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think y'all are right about. I like that you had two different takes there. We have seen the way Denver did it, though. I mean, they had a makeshift offensive line, a young offensive line. They kind of matured as the year went on, but it was still the defense that won them those games, and it was the Panthers same way, even though they had everything else with them. Now, you have Phillip Rivers, who he already showed, I don't care who's playing offensive line for me, I can get the ball out to whoever. You have to wonder if he did have a defense that could get him the ball in better positions, if he had a running game, which is this is what Ken Wisdom is supposed to do, because if anything the Titans did last year was with that running back by committee, they somehow figured out how to run the ball at times. So it seems like Ken Wisenhunt should be able to do that for the Chargers. Maybe figure out something with the offensive line as far as who we need to keep, who we need to dump, and do we need to grab some guys in the draft? Do we go after some free agents on that side? And then I think you kind of go all defense with some of those, get some younger pieces there. You add to some of your key, because they do have they have Verrett there as a corner. They have Teo, who's gonna be your next guy. Whether it looks like Weddle's gonna go, even though she said I think that's a big mistake. I agree with her that if they let Weddle go, that's kind of dumb. Even though he is their highest, he would be their highest free agent if he had to come back. And then you have key pieces there. You just need to build around the defense. Anything else you want to say on the two teams before we get out of here?
I'm just wondering when you guys are going to replace me with Rachelle.
No.
Yeah, no.
And she was great. I mean, I feel bad for her. I mean, I love the passion and all that, but I'm sorry they're going to L.A. She's so adamant against it, but
you don't think I mean, hey, look, the Raiders signed a 1-year deal with Oko. I mean, they
because they lost out on that deal. Oakland lost out. I mean, I get it. I don't live there. I'm not there all the time. The one thing she did mention was now the owner's out talking to everybody and whatever. To me, and you can look at it as like I'm just being a cynic. I'm a New York fan, so that's my job is being. I'm way more pessimistic than optimistic. But to me, that's just a PR move of please don't give up on us. We have to be. We're here for one more year. So we're going to pretend that we want to stay here, and then come January, they can't pack their bags fast enough. That's me. I hope she's right, because, I mean, it would suck for that community, especially with how passionate she is. But, I mean, that's probably just a cynic in me. I just don't see them staying.
And two parts of the family that have season tickets. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am... a year older than the daughter she talked about, and I can't even imagine trying to. Maybe if I do what a lot of people seem to do, which is they basically pay for their season tickets with their income tax. If I did that, sure, but I probably wouldn't be able to afford anything else with the income tax. So, that's a great idea. But
Sean, you live over in Florida, so just give up on the Cowboys, move up a little bit, go get Jaguars tickets. They probably pay you.
Yeah.
To take season tickets for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'll state this. My sister lives in Jacksonville and considered getting season tickets because it would just be fun and it's affordable. And you get coupon books the size of a phone book because they need you to buy those season tickets.
Wow.
And you get to see one of the most explosive offenses lose by a score of 55-50 every week.
But I just can't, give up on my Cowboys. I still don't know what I'm going to do as far as all that. But this was very interesting look at the AFC West. Thank you to everybody that participated during this week. Next week we're going to go into the AFC North. And we'll probably start with our two dear friends, two dear people that we've had on plenty of times, friends of Randy's, more than anybody else. I haven't talked to them personally yet about it, but they should probably be good to go and talking about the Ravens and Steelers. And I know some people personally that are Bengals and Browns fans. Hopefully I can get them for the next Friday podcast. So, again, I want to thank everybody that helped us out. And we'll, again, start next week with that AFC North. Just check out everything on the WTM Network. Rate, review, subscribe to us. We'll be coming in, hopefully in a week. We'll be coming in with a couple of changes as far as look of the podcast and the name change there. But we'll get more to that when we actually get all of the exterior stuff that would help move that along.
And then, yeah, I agree, and I'm excited about that. That's going to be something that's really cool, and we'll talk more about that in detail. But thank you to Randy for the idea. We'll get into that later, though. When we present it, we'll talk about that. But I'm excited about that, and we also want to thank LastWordOnSports.com. We're partnered with them, and we're excited to be a part of that website. Great website. Go check it out, and it's definitely worth the look.
All right. Well, until Tuesday morning. See you later.